What makes the female badass such an incredibly important character? I wanted to talk about this because Where We've Made It Dark comes out tomorrow. It's an apocalyptic literary fiction with zombies that is the formation of a violent character, a female badass. Uh, so it's not simply how we enjoy that aesthetically, but how we fall into that psychic experience and investment ourselves. So that's where we connect with the female badass. It's not a power fantasy. It's not taking female plus badass, putting them together, and then maybe altering the power relations of the world a bit to make that happen. And then we, as readers, as viewers, we feel puffed up about it and saying, "Oh, this is the way things should be," and going about our daily lives. Uh, Female badasses are rending. They rend us and they're transporting. They take us outside of ourselves to something else. There are two key features that allow that to happen. They suffer and they fall into drive. The suffering is important because it undoes this sense of wholeness that is the classic male fantasy. So just like how sexism ascribes a sense of wholeness to the mother figure, but also the female figure that you sexually desire, that wholeness also exists when we're doing power fantasies with our female badasses. You have to undo that sense of wholeness, strictly speaking, by suffering with the character, not watching the character suffer from an outside distance. This is very different from tragedy. Greek tragedy, you have a huge aesthetic buffer between you and what you're beholding, and you're getting this human drama of persisting against fate. But with female badasses, we suffer with these characters. And that's the case with my 4 or 5 constellations of female badasses that are always on my mind when I'm thinking about this. So that's Ellie from The Last of Us and Clementine from Telltale's Walking Unalive game. Those are my 2 zombie frames of reference. You have Ripley from Alien, who is probably the ultimate female badass. And then you have Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks, who is not violent in the sense of kicking butt, but there's a huge violence to her persistence against what she's struggling against and what she falls into at the very end of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. A new addition to this genre is Hinako from Silent Hill F, which I've talked about on the channel. And this is a wonderful story from a horror video game where we take a real shift from the series, and we aren't playing a character who is awkward with their combat versus monsters, but is proficient and aggressive herself. Her aggression is a part of the horror. We fall into it. On one level, she's simply rebelling from her lot in life, her place in the world where she is being made to marry someone she doesn't want to and doesn't have any way out. But it's where that violence takes you. It's where she goes by seeing that violence through to its end, a violence that touches everything, touches everyone around her, her friends, her family. These are the things that she's fighting against. Reality itself, all of this. This violence gets us to drive, which I could talk forever about. But in desire, we have an object, we long for it, we structure ourselves around it, and then when we get to that object, it's no longer the thing we desire anymore, right? We have it, we don't have that same relation, we need a new object. With drive, it's different. We circle around a void itself. There is no object in that space anymore, so to speak. So the female badass is not a hero who has a goal that they're trying to achieve and there's an impediment that they break past heroically and build something up. It's drilling down. It's functioning with the circular motion itself. And what that achieves, where that takes us, that's what's actually transporting about the female badass. Why there's an infinity in this being stuck in this repetitive action. So the female badass is apocalyptic, not geared towards world. It's geared towards this action itself. So with these huge archetypal characters, with Ellie in The Last of Us, it is her revenge. She falls into drive, seeking out her revenge, but it breaks us out of this position. We do find a way of breaking out of it by drilling down. With Clementine, we're falling into drive in different modes throughout the different seasons of the game, but I think the best example is Season 2, where we are alone in the world and we are persisting through it radically. The people we find, we get involved with, but we're not falling into their drama and their desires. We our own desire is simply to be persisting in the world. And so we get a beautiful scene where she has to fix her own injury and sew up a gash against the group's wishes that she's just found. And she, just drills down into existence as the characters around her fall away. And that's the huge depiction of Drive. It makes the world fall away. And this falling away of everyone around you is the same thing that persists with Ripley in Alien, with Hinako in Silent Hill F, with Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks. The way in which you're framed by the people in your world dissolve as you face the undone state of the world and the inherent violence that's there. And this violence is something that makes us suffer. It's difficult to endure. It's not there to shock the reader and say, this is the brutal state of reality. This is all that we are. It's not there to make us feel bad. Suffering is not just feeling bad. Suffering is itself transporting. It's not for something. It's the embrace of the undone state of the world itself. That's effectively what suffering amounts to. And it is the revelation that we don't have a wholeness that builds us up. The ways in which we ideologically view the world, view other people around us, can be very prone to viewing each other as these whole beings. And suffering and desiring are the things that reveal the ways in which we're not. So the female badass isn't something that builds you up. It's what gets us to the undone state of the world. In fact, it's the only pathway to it. Whether you're fighting zombies, alien, or the terrors within our own family. This is what gets us to the undone state of the world and the ways in which we stick out from it ourselves.